Hi, welcome to Astrobabble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology,
And I'm Lynda from Scullywag Astrology.
and today we are going to be talking about the new moon in Gemini.
Mhm. I'm going to share screen.
It's going to happen at 26 degrees, 43 minutes of Gemini. And the moon mansion I will talk about is the seventh moon mansion. It's good for abundance. It's of the nature of Mars and Mercury. Castor is the nature of Mercury, and Pollux is the nature of Mars. And it is good for business, trading. It's good for safe travels as well. It's more of a it's really Gemini. It really is. And it's all the good things that Gemini gives you. It's good for friendships and abundance. So those are the things that we can look forward to with this mansion.
Very nice. Very nice.
It is also good to expel flies. So if you have a fly issue, I don't know how that would work, but if you are trying to get rid of flies, this would be the moon mansion to try to get rid of them.
Hmm.
According to Christopher Warnock's book, The Mansions of the Moon,
Very nice.
is getting my information. So it's an abundant kind of moon mansion. So good for
Very nice.
business, good for trade, good for partnerships. So yeah, it's a really good abundant time.
Yeah, Mercury is the ruler of this moon because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and it's with the new moon. So that's helpful. It's right there to give it assistance. Jupiter can't give it any assistance because Jupiter is currently in Taurus. So it's an inversion. It's like in its blind spot. They don't see each other. Venus does see it though. Venus will be in Leo. Mars is also in Leo though. So and then we have Saturn in Pisces, which will actually be squaring it, but not by degree, only by sign.
Nice. I like the Venus. I like the Venus aspect.
Yeah, no, that is nice. Oh, yeah, that Venus is actually, it's not aspecting by degree the new moon itself, but it's aspecting Mercury, which is the ruler of this new moon. So that's nice. Yes. Well, shall we have a look at the horoscopes?
That sounds like a great idea.
Mhm. And this is all about new moons. So it's about new beginnings, planting seeds, turning over new leaves.
Getting things started.
Yeah.
Lynda and I advocate to look at your rising sign. We also did
Video. Yeah. Podcast.
video,
Mm.
a video on why you should use your rising sign. So if you are a Gemini rising, this new moon is for you. This will be a good time to start a business. If you are thinking about starting a business and you're a Gemini rising, this would be an excellent time to venture out because it gives you the benefic flavor. Even with the moon mansion is benefic. Not only you have Venus sextiling that ruler, it also is it's good time to you could also use this time to start something for yourself if you wanted to get a haircut, because this is how you would start things that you want to do to change or alter yourself personally. So this is all about you.
And if you are a Taurus ascendant, this new moon is happening in your second house. The second house is our personal income, finances, and resources. So this could be new beginnings. You may be deciding to save some money. You may be a new form of income you're looking to generate, or maybe this is the purchase of or the receival of some sort of resource that will be helpful for you.
Very nice. And if you are an Aries rising, this is going to happen in your third house. This is the house of early education as well as early language. It's also your community where you drive around every day. So these would be new things that you would start with those things in the third house. That's the house where the new moon is going to hit.
And if you are a Pisces ascendant, this new moon is happening in your fourth house. The fourth house is the house of our parents, our home, our living situation, and real estate matters. Also encompasses things like our homeland, our heritage. So there may be new beginnings. This may have nothing to do with you. It may be your parents that are setting out on some new venture or some new beginning of some type, or, you know, anything regarding them new. It could be something to do with your household and whether that's something being brought new into the house, or it regards somebody in your household is another option. Or it could be real estate matters. It could be, you know, signing a lease on somewhere new, or, you know, putting a deposit down on a house perhaps.
Very nice. And if you are an Aquarius rising, this new moon is going to happen in your fifth house. And the fifth house is your house of creativity. It could be your house of hobbies. It's also the house of art as well as your children. So those are the things you create. And that's what the fifth house is all about. And the significators of the fifth house are the things that you create. So you'd be starting new things around those themes.
Very nice. And if you are a Capricorn ascendant, this new moon is happening in your sixth house. The sixth house is a house of illness, pets, service to others, and those that work for us. Sometimes that can also include those that you work with, or if your job is being of service to others, particularly things like first responders, doctors, nurses, this may be included under that. Yeah, so there may be new beginnings regarding that. In the case of first responders, doctors, nurses, etc., or even charity workers, social workers, you know, maybe you're applying for the position, or maybe you're entering the academy to start on that journey.
I was just going to add on that there's Pluto sitting right there in your house of your ascendant. So you might be going through a lot of changes. So yeah, try something new.
Yeah, definitely. And Pluto's just retrograded back into that first house. So particularly for those with an ascendant or personal planet at very late degrees, that might be quite applicable. This could be something as simple as a new pet. It could be a new illness, or, you know, maybe you decide to take better care of your health. Though that would be, I would see that more as a first house thing, but it could be covered under the sixth. But yeah, new beginnings, new starts. Or it could, you know, taking on a new employee, or there could be a new co-worker, for example.
Very nice. And if you are a Sagittarius rising, this new moon is going to happen in your seventh house. And the seventh house signifies the other people in your life that you have a committed relationship with. That could be a romantic partner. It could be a business partner. It could even be a doctor or a hairdresser. It's anybody you have a commitment to meet up with and get something done. So this would be a new time to start either a relationship, a business, those kinds of things is what you would start if you're a Sagittarius rising, because this is the house of the other. So new things with one other person.
Very nice. And if you are a Scorpio ascendant, this new moon is happening in your eighth house. The eighth house is a little bit challenging. It does concern mortality. It's also other people's money. So this is debts, loans, shared finances and resources, taxation, insurances, inheritances. So there may be new beginnings. This could be something as simple as, you know, you're going into partnership with somebody, or it could be, because this is the second house from the seventh, so personal finances and that of the partner. So it could be a reflection of something happening with a partner and their personal finances, or it could be shared finances. It could be, you know, some sort of settlement, pooling your resources together, but new beginnings of some type here. Or could be you just learn that you've inherited, you know, some money, or that some money further down the track will be coming your way. Or
And with this moon mansion, yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully that would be nice, wouldn't it? Much nicer than learning that, the tax office has a new big bill for you.
Yeah. And if you are a Libra rising, this new moon's going to happen in your ninth house. And the ninth house is the house of philosophy. It's also the house of higher education, as well as legal matters and publishing. So this is where you would start the new things, such as signing up for a school, or any some kind of higher education, or maybe starting not starting a church, but maybe joining a church that you would, you know, something like that.
I don't know. I reckon Libra ascendant could be quite charismatic. They might start their own church.
Very well could.
Mind you, I could see Scorpio doing that too. But for this lunar, this new moon, yes. Yeah, I'm being a bit
In
silly.
the ninth house, yeah.
Mhm. And if you are a Virgo ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is career and public reputation. It's what you're known for. It's a very visible house, but this is a new moon, so the moon is dark. This is a time for, planting those seeds. So maybe you are, taking on a new project at work, or working towards something that may bring you some sort of acclaim or reward or honor, because this is also the house that is representing those things as well. Or, it may be anything that kind of brings you into more public attention, which is, could be something as simple as, you're getting married, and quite often, at the full moon, you might see in the 10th house of people getting married or having a baby or getting some sort of attention. But this isn't a full moon, this is a new moon. So this might be when you start planning for when maybe it's 6 months' time, when it's a full moon in Gemini, that something similar happens.
Lots to look forward to. If you are a Leo rising, this new moon's going to happen in your 11th house. Your 11th house is the house of hopes and dreams. It's also the house of your groups, and your associations with other people and people that support you. So you could start new things with a group. This is really even under this mansion is a good group activity. This is a good time to communicate well and, get your point across. It really is. If you are a Leo rising, this is happening in the 11th house. So that's what you have to look forward to with this new moon. Start something new if you're a Leo rising.
And if you are a Cancer ascendant, this new moon is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is another challenging house. It's known as the house of our undoing. It is associated with places of confinement like hospitals, prisons, retreats. It's also just, working behind the scenes, exile, or, just being far from home. So there may be new beginnings to do with that. Maybe, you find out that you're going to require an operation, or, that will require you to be in hospital. Maybe this is the preparatory steps before that, or, if there have been problems with addictions or something like that, maybe this is a time where you kind of start to realize, well, maybe this needs to be addressed. Also, the house of hidden illnesses. It's a secret and hidden place anyway, but whereas the 6th house is illness, it tends to be illness that we can see, that's visible, like, your arm's broken, or, something similar. Whereas this is things like autoimmune diseases, but also things like anxiety and depression. So new beginnings to do with these topics, or it could just be working behind the scenes. We've got Mercury in there, which is thinking and communications. This could be, all to do with just working behind the scenes, not sharing your thoughts with others about what you're actually working on. This is a very quiet, secretive place in some ways. It's hidden, but next month you will have your new moon in your 1st house. So maybe by then you'll be able to, or wanting to, be a lot more visible and communicative about what you're doing. But for now, it's just a little bit more behind the scenes.
Now that I'm seeing the new moon in the 12th house, it's applying to a square to Neptune. So
Mhm.
all of those signs, take everything with a grain of salt because it could be a little confusing. You might not have all the facts because that square to Neptune, it can be uh, quite challenging.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Neptune's a bit foggy, makes it hard to see. Neptune can be very idealistic, can be very romantic. So, whoever had it in the seventh house, which would have been who? It would have been Sag. So our Sag ascendants might be a little bit starry-eyed and, or just different placements. It doesn't hurt to try and keep those feet on the ground.
Exactly. Just a little concerning for all of the signs because that Neptune's gonna square that new moon for everyone, all at the same time. So we'll all be under the fogs. So the stone that I have this month is Cinnabrite. And it's one of my first stones. So it's really very cool. It reminded me of cinnamon because it's actually that color of cinnamon.
Oh,
It is, you can see it's red. It's kind of a reddish, maroonish, and this is called Cinnabrite because the cinnabar that is in all of these stones, it's the red parts. And the cinnabar is the purest form of mercury ore, so they'll get the mercury out of this. This is another toxic stone. In in quartz, though, it's not as hands off. If you were handling cinnabar, you want to make sure that you're wearing either gloves or making sure your hands are washed because mercury can absorb through the skin. So you really want to handle it with care. But in with this stone is cinnabrite and it's in quartz, so it kind of encapsulates the cinnabar, which is that red color kind of. And it's got and also the other thing is cinnabar is got a Mohs hardness of 2 to 2.5, where, in quartz, it's pretty hard. So you could actually use this as a gem if you wanted to, but it resonates with Mercury or Gemini, actually, because it's got Mercury in it, so it does it does resonate with the Gemini sign, and so obviously wind would be the element. It is found anywhere near volcanoes, so it's the volcano, the rocks and how the volcanoes go up. That's where you would find anything. If even a past volcano, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a volcano that's an active volcano. It could have been a volcano like, I don't know, 50 million years ago, and right now it's a molehill. So you
hmm.
would find Cinnabrite or Cinnabar very close to those. So that's this is the stone, and it's good for Gemini. It's good for abundance. Um it's good for speech. It imparts persuasiveness. It assists in business and financial pursuits. So this is a great stone for this mansion.
Very nice.
And it's called Cinnabar. Or no, this is called Cinnabrite because the Cinnabar is in the Cinnabrite or
Mhm.
is in the quartz. So yeah, and this is a great stone for abundance. I've been using this stone for um ever since it was one of my first stones, so I've been using it for a very long time.
Very nice.
We'll write an article about it or a blog.
Well, let's go back and have a look at the aspects. There's a lot of aspects this fortnight, so
There are. And the first one will be, I mentioned it earlier, the Sun square Neptune. It's a time to not be so serious. It's a good time to take a break from reality. It's a good day to daydream because that sun's going to give that Neptune some energy to go off on thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to kind of delude yourself at this time. That
Mhm.
Neptune, it's very foggy, can kind of, what are you not seeing? Uh, could be maybe deplete your strength. You may not feel like doing anything. You might have things you need to do and just think, ugh, I just don't have the energy, because Neptune can deplete that energy, and the sun is our vitality. So that's another option. But yeah, could be good for daydreaming. And it could be that you tend to daydream rather than actually do something at this time.
The next aspect is going to be Jupiter is going to sextile Saturn. This is a good aspect for business dealings, financial. If you've been studying finances, you are likely to make a wiser choice than any other time. This Saturn brings the rules, the regulations, and the barriers and the boundaries that you need to stay in. The Saturn keeps you in line, and the Mercury helps with finances. So having those both together could give you, if you have been studying the finances on a certain issue that you're going through, or this would give you a good time to make the right financial decisions. So it's a good day for that, which is really weird because I'm not I we rarely see this one, but it's a nice aspect. Too bad it doesn't hit like, January 1st when you can plan your whole year.
Yeah, Jupiter, enthusiasm, optimism. We've had Jupiter not far, probably, I don't know, a week or so ago, conjunct the North Node. So that was kind of like really may have been some really optimistic planning or thinking or scheming. Saturn here, it is helpful. It is in a superior position. And yeah, just kind of steadying it. So, those kind of just ideas, plans you may have been wanting to act on or thinking about. Maybe this is just grounding them a little bit, okay, that's a great idea. That's a nice idea, but how do we actually make it work?
Yeah. Then the next aspect is going to be when the sun moves into Cancer. The Cancer or the sun is okay in this. It does not have its full energy. Its rules, it actually is exalted in Aries and likes it in Leo and all of those hotter signs where the moon is more cooler. So the sun is not as comfortable in this sign as it has been.
Well, this is the ingress of the sun into Cancer. It's the longest day of the year over there. It's our shortest day down in the southern hemisphere. So just before, well, just as we get the sun ingressing or moving into Cancer, it's the longest day. But this is in the northern hemisphere, the maximum amount of light you will get. From this day forward, it will start to decrease each day. It will still be more light than dark up there until we get to the Libra, must be. But this is, you've reached your zenith sort of thing here. Whereas in the southern hemisphere, we're reaching our nadir, I think it's pronounced, our lowest point.
I
We
think
will
so.
have had the maximum amount of dark during the day. And from this point on, it will start to get a little bit lighter. The sun will rise a little bit earlier and set a little bit later. So yeah, this is one of our solstices. It's the summer solstice over there, our winter solstice here. But yeah, wherever the sun is, does shine a light in your natal chart. So wherever Cancer is in your natal chart, there will be a focus over the next month or so on those people, those topics, generally speaking. I mean, there's all these other planets that are also kind of looking for attention, but the sun is, such a big visible part of our universe from our perspective on Earth. It kind of illuminates things. So it's just focusing when it's in that house on those people and those topics.
Very nice. And as I always say, every time a planet or a luminary moves into a new sign, especially the sun, it's a good day to journal because it can be impactful. And then Mercury sextiles Mars. That to me, I always say it's fighting words. It's words that if you are feeling angry, don't get into the tedious work that you have to do because you could do something that's not with thought or a rash decision, and that could get you into trouble. So be very careful of that quick thinking because you're angry or because you're irritated at a situation. It's likely not to turn out well if you continue to work under those circumstances. So either, take a walk around the block, do whatever you have to do to separate and, reground yourself, because this could be a very tough, challenging day. If you easily get into fights, this is a good day to just know that this is out there and it could lead into something, and it probably won't turn out well if you continue using this aspect in a negative way, such
Hmm.
as fighting or, that kind of thing. It'd be really great if you were, doing a business and, had to do that energy. And, if you were like just opening a restaurant like tomorrow, this would be a good day to, work at it. Um, but as I said, if you are irritated or angry at people, it's best to just, you know, walk away and do something else than keep getting irritated with the situation.
Yeah, I see this a bit more positively. But Mars is not my malefic contrite sect. Mars is okay in my chart. So yeah, look, this is a sextile, so it should be able to be channeled quite productively. This is the power of your convictions. You think, oh, we should do this, or it should be done this way, or why doesn't somebody do this? And doing it. It's thought and action working hand in hand. So I think this can be quite positive. But like you said, and it depends obviously too on people's individual natal charts. If this is kind of hitting off some sensitive places in your chart, then yeah, it could be quite irritable. But generally speaking, I think this can be quite positive. But yeah, like Donna said, if you're feeling a little bit snappy, people are starting to annoy you, bite your tongue, go do something physical. Go punch
Yes.
something, a pillow or
Yeah.
something.
I like that, Lynda. That's a great thing. And just watch your fingers. Your fingers and your arms could easily get burnt that day.
Mm.
So but I like if you're feeling angst, get it out in a positive way so
Mm.
that it doesn't come back at you, because it will come back at you if you let it out in a wrong way. So definitely like your suggestion, Lynn.
Go punch something. I'm an Aries. I
Or
tell
run
you.
it off, or yeah, something. Go scream.
Yeah, that always helps.
And then Mercury will square Neptune. And this is
Oh.
this is again, confusion is going to abound. Mercury is the talking, the Neptune is the we really don't understand what you're talking about. It's the confusion. It can also, so be careful about writing or signing your name to anything. This would not be the day to sign any legal documents, not unless you've been really, really studying them and have somebody to back you up that is what you should be doing, because today is not the day to make those decisions, not to make anything permanent, because the confusion is so strong.
Yeah, this is a few days after that last aspect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, mind you, Mercury's moving so fast. Mercury's moving at over 200% of its usual speed. It's just running straight through this Gemini. I was just thinking, I think this has the potential to be a lot more destructive than the previous one, the Mercury sextile Mars. I think this is much more potential for drama. Could be, well, and it does. There's confusion. this could be somebody deliberately misleading you. This could be deception or just confusion. And very easy to think somebody's told you something, to make assumptions, to think that they mean this and they mean that. Really easy to just misunderstand what's going on. Really bad day for detail-orientated work. Might be helpful if you need to do something creative, but yeah, this is just, this always reminds me of Mercury retrograde,
Oh,
mix-ups,
yeah.
confusions, just so much potential for things to go wrong.
Yeah, because Mercury is all about focus and communication and direct conversation, and Neptune is all not that.
Yeah, it kind of has no boundaries, and can be nice, can be creative, can be very altruistic. This could be really good if you need to write something to inspire people to take action for a really good cause, perhaps. That could be a positive manifestation of this. But yeah, there's also, just being led astray and deceived or just confused. Or,
Yeah.
like I'm thinking you were saying about Mercury's communications, thinking, but it's also learning. So, what popped into my head is like, you think, oh, well, I've got to do this, I've got to learn this, but you kind of click onto the wrong module on the online course, or, you're studying for a test, but, you're studying for algebra and you're supposed to be studying for geometry or something, just, yeah, it's just ick energy. But Mercury's moving super fast, so it's out of there very quick. So this
Well,
shouldn't last for too long.
wouldn't last long. This would be a good day to learn like the unwritten or the underlying codes. Oh, like those things that everybody reads. Like if you were learning sign language or body language or astrology, something like that, something that has those underwritten codes. This would be a good day to start that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Maybe I'm trying to be a positive. I'm trying to bring something positive.
I don't know. I think you'd pick up the wrong book by some dubious author. I don't know. I suppose it could, but yeah.
That might be a stretch. It might be a stretch too. But
We'll
I'm trying to
see.
bring something positive here. Because you got
Yeah.
to be able to, we all have free choice. So, yeah.
Yeah, I reckon use this for some altruistic to do good. Use your communications and writing and thinking and learning in a productive way for some higher purpose,
Very nice.
if you
We'll go with that one.
can.
And then Mars is going to square Uranus.
Oh,
And this
great.
is going to drive you to fight for freedom. If you are feeling constrained, if you are feeling tied down, if you are feeling restricted, this is going to be that time where you're going to like, let me out. I want to go and I want to go now. So this is that time to anger can become explosive. So, you still want to watch your tongue. Yes, you always want to watch your tongue, but this is a day where you might not have the reins of your tongue as well as you'd like, because this could be shocking.
Yeah, both these planets, Mars and Uranus, are both known for quick action. So really easy to be too hasty, rush forward. Accidents could be a possibility at this time. I think it's really interesting that we've got Venus coming up to Mars there, and later on, Venus is going to square that Uranus. I think it's the last aspect just before the full moon in Capricorn. So, maybe what started with Mars, this aggression, and then later on, we're going to have to deal with the mop up when Venus comes to kind of soothe or try to soothe some issues. So, yeah, this is just, like you said, freedom fighting. I wouldn't try to kind of confine anybody at this time. If you're in a new relationship, I wouldn't try to get too pushy or too controlling or too, what's the word, clingy. Bad time to be clingy in relationships, I imagine. Yeah, because you've got Venus, you've got that Venus Mars, both square that Uranus, which is freedom loving. Play it cool and loose. Just chill.
Yeah, chill is the word.
Easier
How do
said
you
than
chill
done.
on a Mars Uranus day though?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, just watch your haste. And this could be, depending on where it is in your chart, this could be, slow down when you're driving or, and depending on, if these are making any aspects to your natal planet. I mean, if you've got Mercury in there, then it's like, think before you speak, But yeah, this is a bit dicey. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. I was just looking at Mars. Mars is moving at a decent speed, so it's not too bad.
And then the next aspect is Mercury enters Cancer. And this is going to be conversations that are loaded with feelings. So, be prepared for that. It's an okay sign for Mercury. Mercury's okay with that. A good time for heart-to-heart conversations.
Yeah, Mercury's never too far away from the sun. Never more than a sign away from it. And, now we've got the sun and Mercury both in Cancer. So, there's a strong focus because the sun's in Cancer and, Mercury in that sign as well means wherever Cancer is in your natal chart, you'll probably be thinking and communicating more to do with those people and topics associated with that house. Oh, it's going to be in the bounds of Mars first off. Just coming off of that argy-bargy Mars Uranus square. So yeah, interesting. Cancer is it likes being at home and it's associated with family and it's that tight-knit circle sort of thing. So yeah, nice. It'll be even nicer when it gets into the bounds of Venus. So and Mercury's moving really quick, and Mercury is currently under the beams. It is actually that's interesting too, because prior to this it was in Gemini and it was for a little while under the beams of the sun within that 15 degrees, but because it was in its own sign it wasn't as harmed. Moving it into Cancer, it kind of loses that protection, so it's within 5 degrees now, so it's burnt up by the sun. We can't see it, the sun's too bright for it, but it is going to have its Cazimi very soon, which will be in the next aspect or two. But at the moment, it's kind of like, So, particularly for the first, like 26, 27, 28, up until the Cazimi, and then after the Cazimi, wherever the house that has Cancer in it, you may feel like the people associated with that house, or if you're speaking or trying to speak or discuss topics regarding that house, you may feel like nobody's listening to you, perhaps.
I'd say very nice, but Mercury and a Mars terms.
Yeah.
Good luck to everybody. That's what I'll say. No, and then the next aspect is the sun is going to trine retrograde Saturn. And this is it's a good day to redo something, especially if you're wanting to reorganize a room, a closet, a dresser, whatever, an office, whatever. This is it speaks of good work, but it's also speaks of redoing something. So it's whether you're revamping your wardrobe, you could even be doing something like that. But you'll get good productive work, but it will be readdressing probably something.
Yeah. And I mean, Saturn's retrograde. Saturn's to do with limitations and restrictions and, hard work, making that solid basis for what you want to build. But, it's retrograde at the moment. It's going over old ground. So this shouldn't be too bad. It is a trine. Good time to knuckle down and do some things, but it might be things that you've put off or that you need to redo perhaps because Saturn is retrograde. And if you're feeling a bit demoralized about that, particularly if you're a night chart, that might be the case. You know, it's not going to last too long. And, maybe once it's done, it's done. That's the hope anyway. But you may be feeling the restrictions more at this time because it is retrograde, and it's kind of emphasizing that it's going over what it's just gone over previous. But actually addressing it may actually help.
It's something that should be done. It's something that has to be done. It's almost like go clean your room. It's like the direction. That's the feeling that you're going to have, but it's really beneficial for you to do so. So take it with a grain of salt. And then the Mercury trine retrograde Saturn, that is it's you got serious problem solving. It's also good for the serious conversations. It's also good for practical thinking as well. If you have dot the i's and cross the t's and knuckle down and do the grammar that you're supposed to be writing, this would be a good day for that.
Yeah. Yeah, serious thinking, conservative thinking, perhaps. Yeah, maybe slow down that thinking a little bit, particularly with that Mercury. Let's see, it's not quite Cazimi yet, but you may be feeling particularly unheard or nobody listens. That trine to Saturn may actually just kind of give you the grit and the determination to just kind of, doesn't matter if people aren't listening, I'm going to do this anyway. Go back over that old work, revamp it, make sure that it's solid, that it's correct, that it's following the rules, all that sort of thing. That Mercury will be Cazimi. So, this could be a last minute proofreading of, to make sure, like Donna said, the grammar's correct, everything's as it should be. You may be a little bit, not depressed, but kind of, it may be annoying that you've got to go back over it, or, it may be kind of like, even feel onerous, kind of like, I've got to do this now, but sometimes it just has to be done.
I'm thinking that's why the planets change every once in a while, and forces us to do stuff. And then Neptune stations retrograde. This is going to happen on June 30th. So, whenever a planet seems to station, it's really more impactful. It's this kind of like saying, "Hey, look at me. I'm standing in one spot, so you can get a good focus and a good view of me." So that's what Neptune's doing, because Neptune will be going retrograde, and it's in Pisces, so it's in its own sign that for the modern aspects of it. And yeah, it's almost like saying, "Hey, I'm going to start being confusing. You're going to have more confusion, but particularly on that day."
Yeah, I think particularly with the outers, I think unless they're kind of making a connection to a natal planet of yours, probably don't feel it as much as, say, Mercury, Venus, Mars, even Jupiter and Saturn being retrograde. If you've got something, a planet, natal planet or chart point, so like the ascendant or the MC at 27 Pisces or 27 Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, you might feel it more than others. And I would allow about a degree either side. So, say 26 to 28 degrees of the mutable signs, and it could be quite nice, it's glamorous and it's romantic and it's, very idealistic, it is very foggy, but, it does have its nice qualities too. But, particularly if it's sitting on your Mercury, don't expect clear thinking.
And then the next day, July 1st, is celebrating to our neighbors to the north, Happy Canada Day, because it is Canada Day. But it is also the day that Mercury will conjunct the sun. And this is good for inspired thinking. It's good for sit and meditate, thinking of your life plans. I mean, just try to get future thinking and thought that these things might come to you, whether it's during meditation, it could as well come in dreams. So this is the day where you might get some insight of what's ahead in your future as far as Mercury and the sun go.
So yeah, this is the superior conjunction of Mercury. It is when Mercury is direct. The inferior conjunction is when Mercury is retrograde. So this is a new cycle for Mercury. Mercury's come up and it's going to overtake the sun. And yeah, this is a Cazimi. The medievals believe that Mercury's only Cazimi within 16 minutes. Hellenistics do believe it's pretty good, about 1 degree either side. So that does give us a little bit of bit more time to enjoy the Cazimi. But yeah, Mercury's moving really fast, 221.2% of its usual speed. This is the fastest that Mercury gets as it's coming up to the sun. And it's like it's in a real hurry to get up there and be with it. So
It was shot out of a rocket.
yeah. Yeah, the Cazimi, some people believe that it's really good in that, can kind of almost make it like genius-like, this could be a great time for great ideas. So probably to do with whatever house is Cancer in your natal chart. So you might have some really good inspired ideas around about the time of the Cazimi. After it does leave that 1 degree, it's going to go under the beams again. Well, it's going to be combust first. Within 8 degrees either side of the sun, it's combust. It's like it's burnt up. It's like if you're out in the midday sun, you've got no sun protection, you're kind of, under the sun, you're just going to burn. And that's a little bit like this planet. So it can feel a little bit burnt up. So, and because this is Mercury, and Mercury's about communications, thinking, and learning, those topics might kind of suffer a little bit. And then as it gets beyond that 8 degrees, it's considered to be under the beams. It's still too bright. The sun is too bright to allow Mercury to be seen. So you feel like you're overshadowed. People aren't listening. So, when Mercury is in Cancer for a lot of the time, it's going to feel like nobody's listening to me. Am I talking to myself? You might have that really inspired idea in the middle of it. Just hold on to it. Wait till after Mercury gets beyond the rays of the sun. Once it gets past 15 degrees past the sun, which should be, let's have a quick look. 8, 7, yeah, about mid-July, when it's actually near the sun, when it's in Leo, then you can start crowing about your ideas. People might actually listen. But yeah, so about 2 weeks, but at this time, there might be that fantastic idea. I've also heard it said that, Cazimi's a little bit like a man who's been sick. He's been on his deathbed, perhaps, and now he recovers. So maybe you've been struggling with something to understand or comprehend or to communicate with others. And this might be the time where you think, I'm just going to leave it. And then, there's your flash of inspiration, but maybe you can't put it into effect just yet. Maybe you need to wait for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice.
Yeah, I kind of like that, man on his deathbed, he recovers. He's not in any danger anymore, but he's not at his full strength, which makes complete sense to me when you consider, that 15 degrees leading up to and the 8 degrees leading up to where you're burnt up and, you've got to go through all that each side of the sun. But, that's that little breather. It's just like, oh, he's not going to die, So
Just while it's at that 1 degree of exactly on the sun or 1 degree either side. Yeah, it's a time where you can actually, be productive and get some clearer ideas.
Yeah. But yeah, you may need to wait. And I've heard it said too that, because Mercury is so close to the sun all the time, that it doesn't kind of feel the effects of being burnt up as much as the other planets. But, it certainly hides because both Mercury and Venus are our morning and evening stars, depending where they are in their cycle and how close they are to the sun, because they're only morning and evening stars when they're far enough away from the sun that we can see them. When they're this close to the sun, we just don't see them at all. It's like
Right.
they've disappeared.
And then the next aspect is a great aspect, Mercury sextile Jupiter. This is an aspect that is good for group values. It's good for, all those group projects, thinking ahead with a group, get everybody together and have that conversation to work towards a goal.
I really like this. I mean, it's a nice aspect anyway. Anytime Mercury and
A
Jupiter,
benefic.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
Mercury and Jupiter together in a positive aspect is nice. But Mercury is like 6 minutes away from the sun at the time of the Mercury Jupiter being exact. So at the time of Mercury sextiling Jupiter, Mercury will also be Cazimi the sun, that kind of in the throne room of the king of the sun. It has the era of the king, it's in the heart of the sun. So yeah, brilliant ideas. Jupiter's a benefic, like Donna said. Uh, Jupiter likes to expand. So I think this could be really good. So that brilliant idea we were talking about, or that aha, or that kind of like, oh yes, I'll do that. Jupiter's there with the enthusiasm, the optimism, and the expanding qualities. And Jupiter, it's 8 degrees away from that north node at the time, but that north node can elevate. So I think this could be really nice.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, because Jupiter wants to do good for the greater good. It's the not looking at how am I personally going to benefit. It's how can I help the world? That's the generosity that Jupiter tries to bring to the situations, and this is a great aspect for that.
It's nice. I'm just looking too. We've got Mercury will have moved 2 degrees away from that trine to Saturn, and that Saturn is retrograde. But like there's that lending that stability too, because that Jupiter, it's all those lovely things, but it can kind of, get a bit too expansive. But you've kind of got that Saturn there kind of grounding it a little bit. So it's not bad. I like this. I think there could be some really good ideas put into action at this time. And then
So far, it's typically a great month. I mean, it really is. There's a lot of good things
I think
that
earlier
are
on there was some that were kind of a little bit bothersome,
kind
but they're
of
kind of getting
challenging.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Neptune square.
Mars and Uranus.
There are some challenging, but there could be just as positive, because the world is full of balance, right? So,
Yeah.
however bad that the beginning of the month is, maybe we can look forward to how good it's going to be at the end.
Yeah. No, that's true. And because
And
we have the Sun and Mercury so close, and Mercury's just had that sextile with Jupiter, now we're going to have the Sun sextile Jupiter. And this is the same day, I think, isn't it? Must be.
it is the same day. It's a loaded day.
So
It
it's about
really is.
3 hours later. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean this is great. You feel great, Sun sextile Jupiter, just really nice, generous, optimistic, enthusiastic, just really, really nice. I think it's
Yeah,
a nice time to get together with friends and just, you know,
I agree.
talk and
I agree. Anything that you do with a group of people, well, it should turn out well.
mm, mm. Yeah,
I
no,
would
it's
use this for
nice.
maybe a marriage. I don't know. I'm thinking, what would I elect for this? Because you got to use that aspect for something good, and it's
Hmm.
definitely going to be a benefic day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then we've got Venus square Uranus. I don't think I'd be doing it for a marriage, maybe.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, that's right. I forgot that was coming up.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe not. But it would
Maybe
be a nice
not.
time for a party.
It'd be a nice time for a party. There we go.
Great time to have, like, how like the olden days they used to have a salon where all the intellectuals would get together and talk and discuss ideas and philosophy and art and all that. That would be great for that, maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we don't do that anymore. You just have to get together with your friends and talk. I was going to say talk something, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I typically do that with yeah. You You have to use this. It's going to be a good day. It's a benefic that's being aspected, and
Mm.
Jupiter is looking for the greater good. The sun's going to give it energy. It might have some challenging aspects to it with, Neptune and Uranus, but
Mm.
I like that Saturn influence of, keeping everything grounded and
It's just a shame that Saturn is retrograde, but maybe that's just going back over old ground, which is exactly what's, a retrograde is going back over old ground. But yeah.
we need
Oh,
something.
last time we tried this, it didn't work. So this time,
I've made these tweaks. How will this work out?
and then speaking of which, we do have Venus square Uranus.
July 2nd, right?
Yeah. This could be, discomfort with change in relationships, and if you're worried that, oh my God, this means that, my relationship's doomed, maybe that's a sign to, spice it up a little bit or change it up a bit somehow. Uranus is that freedom, but also, open to new ideas and the unusual and the different. And yeah, that could be something really simple as, not being as structured and rigid as, this happens on this day, that time, blah, da, da, da. Just, be a little bit more spontaneous. Yeah, this could be in groups and, within a friendship group, it could be something like, you're mixing with different people, a different crowd than you usually would. Could be exposure to art that's a little bit different. If you're very into, I don't even know what it would be, not classical, but like, very traditional art. You go to a modern art show, which is, very different to what you would consider art. It might be quite different to what you expect. Or,
This will elevate and bump up the whatever the relationships are. It's looking for excitement with the square to Uranus. It's wanting to do something out of the ordinary. It's that's what it's trying to seek.
mm,
Or for you to do. It's trying to seek for you to do it.
yeah. And the thing with Uranus too is that, like, change will be thrust upon you. And I mean, this is not happening. Well, for some people it will be naturally, but I mean, if you have Uranus coming up and, making contact in your natal chart, then yeah, you possibly need to change. And if you don't change, it'll be thrust upon you. This is a transit. Everybody's experiencing this. It's just kind of like, exposing yourself to something new and different. Some people are going to be very uncomfortable with this. Some people that are comfortable with change are going to be uncomfortable with this because this is a square. It is challenging. It is tense. But yeah, if you can try and incorporate that, do something a little bit different, change things up, just flip things on the head. Uranus likes that.
Uranus likes to be disruptive.
Mm.
That's one of the key words of Uranus. It likes to be disruptive. It likes to be independent. It likes to be out of the ordinary. It likes to be different.
And the thing with Uranus too, it does bring that freedom, and usually it can feel like a real pain in the butt when it's happening, but quite often it's for the better anyway.
Yeah. It might spur you shockingly into either leaving a relationship or gaining a relationship, but try not to take your the heart issues too seriously. That square to Uranus, it's meant to shock you, but try not to be too serious about it.
Yeah, they're both in fixed signs too, so yeah, easier said than done in some ways. But yeah, try and roll with the punches.
It's getting you to look at something. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's a problem. It's just telling you to look at something in a different way.
And this is a aspect. I mean, Venus is slowing down because Venus is going to retrograde. When does she retrograde? 22nd of July. She's going to retrograde later in the month. So she's starting to get really slow. She's only moving at 61% of her usual speed. So she's going to be making this square to Uranus for a little bit longer than she normally would. So yeah, and then later on in the month, we're going to have Venus going back and reassessing things. Actually, how far back does she go? I don't
I
have.
want to say 8 degrees, but that's just off the cuff because everything else was retrograding back to 8 degrees. I'm not sure.
Well, she's probably going to come back during her retrograde phase and square
Square
Uranus
it again.
again, which will be interesting. So maybe, particularly if something does happen at that time, it would be interesting to make a note of that and see when it does retrograde back and make another square during her retrograde phase, what happens then? And then, then she'll come and go direct over it again. So yeah, this could be 3 hits. Actually, I'm going to double check that she is going to retrograde back over it. On the 9th of August, she will square Uranus again while she's retrograde. And then the final one will be about 29th of September. So that will be interesting. So 3 hits of this. So maybe take note of what happens the first time, the second time during the retrograde, and then when she goes over it the third time in direct motion again. That would be very interesting.
It will be very interesting because are the retrogrades, especially when they hit another planet 3 times, that planet's asking for you to change something.
And this is going to be more impactful with people with planets or chart points around about 22 degrees of the fixed signs. So that's Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio.
Oh.
Donna's smiling. You got something in
That
22
Venus will be right
Scorpio.
on it'll be squaring my sun.
Oh, lovely. Interesting.
So,
mm.
very interesting.
And then that's the last aspect. Then we have the full moon in Capricorn.
Yeah. It's going to happen at 7:37, 7:38.
Is that right? On the 3rd of July?
Yeah. Yes, there will be no stargazing that weekend with the full moon. For all those people who are, well, in my neck of the woods, it's right around the
4th of July.
July 4th, yeah. So there will be a lot of people up gazing at the sky. Stars probably will not be easily seen
Very
that day.
nice. Yeah,
But,
well, that's interesting, isn't it? So where's Saturn? Saturn's at 7. 7 Pisces.
Pisces.
Because Saturn will be the ruler of this full moon, and it will be making a sextile to the full moon. So that's nice. It can lend its assistance. It is retrograde, which is a shame, but still, it's better than probably no aspect at all. Oh, we got Mercury opposite the full moon. Venus can't see it, but Jupiter can. So that's nice. Jupiter's making a nice aspect there, actually, a trine.
Very nice.
So, Donna, where can people find you?
People can find me at donnabastrology.com, and you can get a hold of me. My contact information is there for natal readings, as well as your head readings, as well as electional, horary, and energy healing as well. Crystals. Yeah, I work with crystals. So yeah, for chakra layouts, and I have blogs on my website about why I think they're important. So and why they're beneficial for your health. And that's what I do. And Lynda, where can people get a hold of you, and what are you up to?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. I do natal readings, relationship readings, and year ahead readings. Yeah, and the Australian dollar is terrible at the moment. So if you're in America or possibly even Canada, the exchange rate is really good. So good time to grab it if you can. Oh, what else? Yeah, that's about it. Thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate your likes, your comments, your shares. If you're listening on podcasts, we really appreciate it if you rate us. That would be fantastic. And, if you listen to us and, you always listen on Amazon Music or iHeartRadio or, yeah, let us know. We love hearing all that stuff. So, yeah, or let us know how the new moon or the full moon's treating you.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.